new subjects you like to teach means you should be well versed in research. You should for teaching the students in a different way, for making the students interesting. You need to conduct research for everything. Research is everything for even to enhance your knowledge, even to get in-depth knowledge about the subject, to teach the different sorts of students, to keep the students in the class attentively. You should learn some skills. For that also research is needed. So research is everything. It is for the teachers. It is from increasing your knowledge till reaching the students, and to get your publication, for your maybe for promotion purpose, for anything. Research is compulsory for the teachers. Then only you will become a good teacher. Without research you can't be a good teacher, because you should need to conduct research for how you can make the moderate student also very brilliant. Identify the student, to identify the needs of the students, to identify the level of learning of the students, and to identify the way of teaching the particular subject. For everything research is compulsory. So in that scenario, but many for many teachers, it is like they can't able to understand how they can get the title of the research, how to review and analyze the whatever content they collected, that is data they collected, and how to come out with the final outcome. So that there's many doubts are arising from with the new teachers, newcomers who are in teaching right now. They entered into research teaching. Then how to go with the research component, they got so many doubts regarding that. So it is a very good platform. It will create ambition to the teachers, and also it will create a platform for them to learn about research. Research means many teachers, they will think that only for a PhD holders research is needed, only for not because we are not doing our PhD or any other thing, so it is not relevant for that. Like that, they may think, but research is very much important to become a good teacher. Everyday teacher should be a researcher. Even in our daily life itself, sometimes knowingly or unknowingly, we will adapt research in our day-to-day decisions also sometimes. So research is very much important. It is the whole. It is like heart for a teachers. It is very much heart and brain for a teachers. So it is a very good platform. You are creating a very good platform for the teachers to learn about research, and also to enhance enrich their knowledge. And many, they completely depend upon the others study material or some other things. Instead of that, they should be good readers as well as researchers, to bring the subject relevant to how relevantly how they can able to make the rich content to reach to the students in a right way, and how you can make them remember. Students can remember for a long time. It's how can you can give that rich content to the student. For that, you need to conduct research every day. Teachers should be every day, they are every minute they should be a researchers. Then only they can reach to the student in a right way. So and also for making a article, they need to first identify the subject matter, identify the title of the study, and then they should go a step into the reviews, and then they should frame their objectives. So that step by step process also, many are not know familiar with that steps process of research. For that, this type of platforms will be very much helpful for the teachers to make their own article rich in research. And also how they can go for publication also. Then they got many doubts. They can able to, sometimes they can able to come out with some articles, but how to go for publications also, they are not having such awareness. So that these platforms will give very good ideas about getting the idea of the research, getting the identifying the title, making the reviews, and then come out with a gap and objectives. And they can give their own presentations and their own presentation for a conference, or they can give their publications. And also in the same time, they can have their own rich content in publishing work, and for their promotion also it will be helpful. So I thank these organizers as well as the resource persons involved in this research, in this program, and then the participants to go with rich content of this, to go with knowledge of this FDP. Some people may join because FDP program for 1 week means they will get some points. Only for that point also some will reach, but that is not important. More than that 7 days certificate, they should go with that rich knowledge. So kindly make use of such platform, and it will be more important for in giving your ideas to your students also. So in that scenario, you should look into this research. Not only just joining and going with a certificate is not important, but in between joining and getting the certificate, you should get the rich knowledge of that research, how it is relevant for your teaching as well as for your publication. I think. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your valuable insight to the participants. Really, it was indeed motivating and extremely informative. Okay, with this, next we have another personality. The influence of a great leader can never be erased. The leader shapes the future by shaping the minds of the people under his guidance. It is indeed privileged to have one such a great leader as our Dr. Nagraj sir, President, BUTCCM. Sir, we have a request to you to propose an inaugural speech. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all of you. Respected Registrar of Evaluation of Bangalore University, Dr. Srinivas sir, our beloved Dean and Chairman, Dr. Sarvamangala Madam, my dear all office bearers of BUTCCM, other invitees, and dear participants. At the outset, I would like to welcome all of you for this FDP program. The BUTCCM, in association with the Department of Commerce, Bangalore University, Bangalore, has organized this FDP program to provide certain fundamentals of research to improve the certain skills and motivate the participants for taking up certain research projects, at least the research articles. Even Madam also identified or highlighted the relevance of research in our professional atmosphere or professional work. The themes for 5 days program are well designed and resource persons are also well identified. The credit of this program should go to our program conveners as well as the department chairman, Dr. Sarvamangala Madam, and also to the Christ Academy for accepting our request and organizing this kind of program. And particularly, this program is designed by Professor Parvez and the Dr. Ambarish. I should thank on my personal behalf as well as on behalf of the all office bearers. And also, they have taken all possible steps to make this program successful. And they've identified the all possible the kind of the aspects which we can cover in this program, and I'm sure that this program definitely will throw some light on each step of good research. And I would like to thank all our the office bearers for their guidance as well as the involvement in this program also. Dear participants, our association has been organizing several programs for the Faculty of Commerce and Management since 2 to 3 months. We are already organized 2 orientations in the last month and before that. Now we have taken up this program and a series of programs we have already planned for updating our faculty members in all academic spheres. And for all this, we require your active participations. We have expected more the faculty members for participation, but The 150 numbers is not a small number also, but it is more than our expectation. And dear participants, the research has become an integral part, as the madam and Farooq already highlighted the importance of education and in and research. And even NEP also given more focus on the research oriented syllabi. A kind of higher education become a modern days the orientation in this aspect. And only through research the attainment of new knowledge is possible, and new knowledge formed through new research is contributed back to the knowledge community, as well as in the upgradation of student information. Therefore, I would like to uh, thank all the resource person for taking up the responsibility to deliver a lecture on various topics. Once again, I appeal all of you that actively participate and take away the fruits of this program to our stakeholder, that is the students, in conducting various the research in your domain. You can update their knowledge in the right approach, and thereby you can contribute even to the existing knowledge or literature in the your particular area. Thank you one and all, and good luck to the program. Thank you all, sir. Over to Parveez, sir. Hello.
I think he's stuck. Just a minute, sir.
Hello.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for your valuable words. Now, I would like to speak. Yes, sir. Can I proceed?
Continue, sir. Continue. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Now, I would like to speak about the faculty development program. BUTCCM strongly believe that the quality human resource is an important element needed to achieve the excellent standard in all the disciplines offered by an institution. Bangalore University has been practicing innovative teaching practices to attain its mission of being committed to the excellence in the education and the research. In this endeavor, Department of Commerce, Bangalore University, and BUTCCM is committed to providing a research and teaching skill enhancement programs for the faculties and the research scholars and the fellow faculties of other institutions around the state. The FDP is a residential program that provides a rigorous training for the faculty members and the educators in the area of teaching and the research. The current FDP is organized by the Department of Commerce in the collaboration with BUTCCM, Bangalore University, in the area of research, because research is very essential to the teachers and to stay updated in the advanced development in their own field, and also to make the teaching more interesting and effective. The current FDP covers the 5 modules, which already we have discussed. Today is the first day of the FDP. So we are going to have a session on a selection of research title for the publication. So now on this first day of FDP, I am glad to introduce today's resource person, Dr. Deepak R, an expert in the area of research. He completed his PhD from the Manipal University, and currently he is working as an associate professor at Ramaiah Institute of Technology, Bangalore. He completed his master's in management from Marshall University, West Virginia, USA, and was a recipient of Best Student Award in Academics and the Soft Skills in the MBA. He has over 16 years of teaching experience, and he published and presented more than 70 research papers in the area of investment, behavioral science, and business analytics in the national and international conferences in India and abroad. Dr. Deepak has conducted more than 50 workshops and FDPs in the area of business analytics, behavioral finance, time series analytics, machine learning using R and Python programming, data visualization using Excel, R and Python for faculty and industry representatives. Having such a recognized individual as a resource person for today's FDP session is truly an honor and incredible privilege. Now, I would like to extend a warm welcome to the Dr. Deepak for this FDP on behalf of Bangalore University, Department of Commerce and BUTCCM. I am sure we will be enriched with today's session. Now, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So indeed, it's a privilege and respected Dr. Srinivas sir, Registered Evaluation, Bangalore University. Dr. Sarvamangala Madam, Dean Chairperson, Department of Commerce, Bangalore University. Dr. Nagraj sir, President, BUTCCM. Mr. Prabhakar sir, Treasurer, BUTCCM, and of course, Dr. Mohammad Farooq Pasha, as well as Parvez. Thank you all for inviting me for this today's session. And given in terms of the time frame which is there, we will just get into the session directly. And just to the participants who are joining today, the most difficult part of any workshop or in terms of FTP, you will be able to notice that everything has to be, everything boils down to the first day, wherein you will be able to notice the confusion that all the researcher has is, I have got various topics in the world that I have to be able to concentrate upon. Which is the topic that I should be able to go ahead? This is the first one. If that is the case, if I am able to follow every aspect of research methodology which is there, yeah. Okay, which is the which specific aspect that I should be able to follow?
All participants, please. Hello. Hello. One request among the participants. Please mute yourself.
Okay. So the difficult part will be is mainly in terms of selecting of the topic, because we might have gone through in terms of the methodology, we might be knowing a lot of techniques, everything else. At the end of the day, you will be able to notice your entire concentration is how is it, is it possible for me to be able to publish this paper in a premier journal as early as possible? And you will be able to notice in the last 1.5 year to 2 years, I published some of the papers in ABDC journal as well as Shimago journals which are there. And what I have realized over the period of time is there is always a structure that one has to be able to arrive at. Very important topic that has been given to me is how should you be able to select the title or the area that you have to be able to go forward. And for that reason, what I will be able to share today is I will be able to share with you all the sequence in which one should be able to proceed further from the beginning up till the end, so that everyone is able to get a glimpse into how exactly one is able to arrive at a specific topic, first aspect. The second aspect is how you should be able to select the journal and then move forward. So for this example, what I will be mainly discussing about is I will, when I was given this topic, you will be able to notice that all the faculty members here come from varied areas, right? And due to this reason, you will be able to notice that everyone is an expert. Everyone has their own expectations in the subject that they are dealing with today. And for that reason, what we'll be able to do is, in order to bring everyone into the same context, what I have done is I have taken one topic which I will be able to deal with in depth, so that everyone is on the same page, and at the end of the day, everyone is able to arrive at the same questions, or they might be able to ask a lot of questions pertaining to one specific area, and then the discussion forum will be really good for us to be able to proceed further. And for that reason, you will be able to notice, as a researcher, what we require is we want to be able to first go ahead and ask this question as to which is the area that I should be able to continue with first and foremost, and then how should I be able to move forward, and to what depth or to what extent I should be able to delve into this topic, so that this paper which is there can be published in some of the premier journals. So what I will try to do is, you'll be able to notice that there has been a lot of discussion which has happened in the area of sustainable finance. So what I will do is, I will discuss one topic, and then I will be able to say how research papers have been written in this specific area, taking into consideration various aspect, various literature, everything. Okay, so I hope you are all able to see the slides, right? Okay, are you able to see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. So you will be able to notice that the first and foremost, when we mainly talk about in terms of sustainable finance, we will be able to notice that there is a lot of impetus which is given from the private sector in the sustainable finance area. Lot of government, if you start looking at from a macroeconomic view, you'll be able to notice that there exist lot of regulations which have been brought from the overall level, and you will be able to notice that there exists national policy as to how companies should be able to disclose this topic. And similarly, you will be able to notice this, since there is growing interest in the sustainable finance, we as researchers have lot of interest going into this field, is for the reason that there is plenty of opportunity for us to be able to do a research in this area, and thus you will be able to notice that lot of researchers have slowly started concentrating in this area, which means if I have to be able to come up with any specific topic, first and foremost, the what I have to be able to concentrate upon is, I should be able to say what is really new with respect to this area. Now, the question which always comes is, how do you actually do it? How do you actually find out that specific topic or a specific area which is currently really new? So if this is the case, you will be able to notice that since we know that there exists interest, and you will be able to notice that when we talk about sustainable finance, there are a lot of theories associated with it, where one is able to say that are the companies really spending the amount of money which is meant for sustainability for that purpose only or not. So what happens is, you will be able to now notice that we started with the topic as sustainable finance, and you will slowly be able to understand that there exists lot of interest, but there exists no clear-cut division or clear-cut answer as to what might be the aspects that these companies have been following. So if this is the case, now what I want you to be able to look at is, if one is able to conduct research, one is able to look at all the literature review that is available in the area of sustainable finance, you will be able to notice that few of the, if I take the entire chunk of the papers which is available in the area of finance, one talks about more and more banking sector support has to be there for the companies. You will be able to notice more government rules and regulations has to be there in order to force the companies to go in a very sustainable manner. Then you will be able to notice that the companies say, I will do this job, but actually whatever the money that was meant for CSR activity or sustainability, you will be able to notice that is just a paperwork and it is not used properly. So if this is the case, you will be able to notice that when I talk about from a government perspective, we have got the shareholders, we have got the investors, we have portfolio investors, everyone else who is now looking at is it possible for me to go and invest into the companies where I can make short-term profits, or where I can make better profits when compared to me going and investing in mid-cap companies, or if I'm going for large cap companies? Is it possible for me to be able to select those? Now you'll be able to notice that when we started looking at this topic, you talked about sustainable finance. So you felt that this is only towards the area of finance. But slowly, if you start looking at in terms of the theories, you start looking at it from a regulation point of view, you start looking at from a banking perspective, you start looking from a stock market perspective, and then say, yes, of course, this is interesting, is for the reason that there are various economic agents or the stakeholders who are involved. So I can start looking at writing research papers, taking one perspective. So similarly, you will be able to notice that sustainable finance, which is there, most of it has been the accumulation of that money which is there is always through the debt instruments. That is nothing but in terms of the green bonds. Similarly, if I'm looking at the SDGs, that is nothing but sustainable development goals which are there, and what is the role that is played. Similarly, we are talking about in terms of on a world level, on a global level, how, to what extent the financial institutions are now playing a role. So now you will be able to notice, maybe I was initially concentrating on India. So slowly I started realizing that this is not only a problem that exists with respect to India, but this problem which is there might be slowly elaborated to Southeast Asian countries. It can be towards in terms of a larger gamut. Then I will be able to take developed countries. So you will be able to notice now I'm talking about rules, regulations. I'm talking about government involvement, not only in my country. I'm also talking about across in terms of various countries and in various phases also. So now you'll be able to notice slowly the sustainable finance which was there was concentrated on companies. Now it is slowly concentrated on the environmental perspective. So which means that when we start looking at a topic, what we will be able to now realize is the topic has to be new. The topic has to be the most discussed, and you will be able to notice these are the topics where a lot of question mark exist. So if this is the case, you will be able to notice that when we start looking at, I need to come up with a title, I need to be able to come up with a research topic. But I find that whenever I send my research papers to any journal, right in first 15 days or right in 1 month, they will reject my paper and then say, this might not be relevant. This might not be the one that we would like to go forward, but we would request you to submit more papers. Now, why are they actually saying it is we know that from the beginning that there exists a lot of interest with respect to the topic. But as we start looking at from a research angle perspective, these are the you start looking at in terms of a perspective where we are in 2021 or 2022. I need to be able to write a research in 23. Now, I cannot take a topic which was there in 2011 and come up with some research paper and say you publish it. They won't publish it. So which means that you will be able to notice in 2011, the meaning of sustainable finance which was there was mainly concentrated on what? It was mainly concentrated on these aspects, which is nothing but it was mainly concentrated on environmental, social, as well as governing factors which were there. Now, slowly, when you start going away from 2011 to 2016, you will be able to notice that there might be a lot of data which is available. Lot of companies might be compelled to go towards in terms of sustainability, which means you'll be able to notice this dimension which was there, what was the meaning which was there, slowly changed from ESG to also include in terms of the economic dimensions which are there. Which means if I am talking about ESG, if I am mainly concentrating only on in terms of the ESG and not about in terms of the economic dimension, you will be able to notice that the chances that the paper will be selected is very, very less. So that means in my title, though I might have done a very good research, taking very good research methodology, data, everything else, you will be able to notice your concentration might be completely different. Now, slowly, when we move from 2016 to 2020, you will be able to notice that what we are now talking about is we are talking about allocation mobilization for transition to a more sustainable economy, which means that you will be able to notice that the research papers, if it is written from this part 2011 to 2020, you will be able to notice that we should be able to talk about in terms of either from a finance point of view, either from an institution perspective, and then say that sustainability has it brought changes. Not, I'm not talking about TCS company, I'm not talking about Wipro company, I'm saying has this resulted in a broader approach towards an industry or towards in terms of the economy. So you will be able to notice that as we start going through in 2021, you will be able to notice that the same definition that we saw in 2011 has drastically changed, where what we are mainly talking about is we are talking about how is it possible that when we talk about in terms of the sustainability which is there, is it possible to include that from a decision making perspective? That means you started here with respect to sustainable finance. When we come from 2011 to in terms of 2023, you will be able to notice the concentration which was laid on was specifically with respect to how government can be involved, how institutions can be involved. But now you'll be able to notice we are specifically talking about how do we force the companies which are there, how do I force the companies in order to ensure that they follow in terms of sustainable methods, which means that when I come to any research topic which is there, I have to be able to look at this dimension and then only I have to be able to proceed further. So which means you will be able to notice that when I talk about in terms of the research which is there, now I will be able to say, where should my concentration be? First is you will start looking at the research papers and then you will be able to say that majority of the papers which are there had concentrated on ESG based data, ESG based norms. And the second one, you will be able to notice that we are mainly talking about the second aspect is sustainable finance. If someone is going for spending money on sustainability, is it going to impact the overall economy, not in the short term, but in the long term? And are the investors ready to invest into these companies which are quite evident from the balance sheet and from the annual report, everything else. So now you'll be able to notice where does research actually come is you'll be able to notice that 2021, even if the research has been done, they always talk about the definitions of sustainable finance, the meaning of sustainable finance for a government, for an institution, for a company, for an investor is completely different. So which means there exists not one meaning or one definition. There exists lot of theory which is able to say that if I have to be able to concentrate on what is called a sustainable finance, is there any specific way? Which means since there exists no specific way, there exists no one specific formula which can say that you invest so much, this will lead to increase in so much of sales, this will lead to improvement in the sustainable development goals which are there. There exists no theory, which means that I can start writing research paper in this area, in this area, this area, this area, which means I will talk about stock market and its impact. I will talk about the government influence, talk about it. I will take in terms of the growth which is there, climate change. So you will be able to notice that this is in terms of a area which is more heterogeneous, and a lot of research papers will be able to publish those topics very, very quickly. And for that reason, you will be able to notice that as we start going through in depth, you will be able to notice that I can start concentrating on various themes which are there and then start proceeding, which means that now I have got a fair idea that I need to be able to come up with a research topic. Yes, of course, I want to do a lot of research papers, but you will be able to notice that when I start concentrating on various research, I lose track is for the reason that I do not know where should I be able to concentrate upon, which means that since I have got in terms of the various themes that I can concentrate on, now let me take this topic and then start going in depth and then start looking at what are the various type of data which is available for me to be able to proceed further and do research on. So if this is the case, you'll be able to notice that we come to know from the previous period that there exists lot of heterogeneity. That means there exist lot of avenues for us to be able to do the research upon. And now when we start looking at the specific topics which are there, you will be able to notice that when we start taking in terms of these research papers, you will be able to notice that they do not only talk about SDG or in terms of a ESG. Now what they do is they start combining this methodology or this method with some specific ideas or specific theories. So if this is the case, you will be able to notice they are doing this research on sustainability, but they are looking at, is this a sustainability possible? Is it possible for companies to go for sustainability? If I'm taking a very short period of time, 1 year, 2 years, and then I'm trying to do a research upon, you will be able to notice that is it possible that when we talk about research, we always talk about companies should be able to concentrate on the shareholders, make sure that the wealth of the shareholders is increased. Now, if I start concentrating on this part, will it contradict? On the one hand, I want to ensure that companies follow sustainable methods, we bring down the carbon emissions, everything else. On the other hand, you are saying bring more profits. If you don't bring more profits, then I will not go and invest into your company. So now you will be able to notice there exist a lot of contradictions. Now, if there exists a lot of contradictions, this gives us an impetus for us to be able to look into whether that contradiction exists in a short term or with respect to a long term. So you will be able to notice that as we start going into research and then start looking at this topic, sustainable finance, when we started with, it was just very, very generic. But as we started looking at in terms of the various research, we analyzed that there is less of what is referred to as a sustainable finance that people are actually talking about. They are slowly moving towards what is referred to as a sustainable investment. So that means people in the past, or sustainable investing which is there. So people in the past did lot of research in sustainable finance. They exhausted most of the literature on sustainable finance, but now you will be able to notice that the concentration is now towards, since portfolio managers, portfolio like mutual funds, if I'm talking about hedge funds, since they have got lot of money, where will they actually put that money? Okay, will they go and put that money in the companies which are not following any systematic norms at all? Or are you going to invest in those companies which are following sustainability? Now you will be able to notice that this is where slowly you will start looking at in terms of your topics, wherein is it possible to look at people investing only in short-term investment or not? If there are some ESG disclosures, that means if I say that annual reports of the company should be able to disclose some aspect of sustainability. Are they actually doing it or not? Another research paper. You'll be able to notice that when I'm talking about bottom-up approach, which is there now, who takes the decision? Is the decision taken from the middle management, top management, or the managers who are there? They are able to uh, actually take into consideration these aspects, and they convey this message to the top management, which means, does the agency problems that we always talk about, does this agency problem exist when we always talk about in terms of sustainability or in terms of sustainable finance? So you will be able to notice that as we start going through all these literature, now what we do is we start looking at in terms of a data. Now the data is, it is very, very clear that from 1980, the variability that we are seeing with respect to the climate change or carbon emissions which are there, you will be able to notice that is very, very significant. So which means that I can assess what was the change that had happened in the past with this change, and then say who is actually responsible for it. If they are responsible for it, are the standards which are put, or the disclosures or the norms which are being put, is it actually bringing in changes so that this volatility which is there comes down over a period of time? So if this is the case, you will be able to notice you mainly concentrated upon what was the research previously. Now you have the data in order to show that this was the condition before, this is the condition after, and how should I be able to proceed further? Which means there now exists a causal relationship between what is the kind of increase that we have seen here with respect to certain factors, which means you will be able to notice when I start concentrating on sustainable finance in the beginning, my concentration was mainly upon uh, does the influence of the government or policy makers help companies to disclose the aspects on sustainable finance in depth or not? Now I will start going in depth and say IT companies. If I talk about the NSE Nifty, okay, you will be able to notice in National Stock Exchange, we have something called as ESG index. We have something called as ESG enhanced index. You have got leaders index. That means these are a few of the companies, like 100 companies, 500 companies, which are showing in their annual report that they are taking a lot of critical steps with respect to ensuring that sustainability is maintained. So voluntary disclosures have been made. If that is the case, is this voluntary disclosures more from the IT companies? Because you will be able to notice that IT companies, when we look at, if they are able to report or disclose more, what we want is, along with the IT companies, we also want the companies which are into mining, which are into natural gas, since their main aspect, you will be able to notice, for them to be able to make in terms of the profits, they have to be able to sell their products. Okay, if they are able to sell their products, you will be able to notice. Now if I say this is causing harm to the entire globe, you have to be able to take some corrective actions. Are the corrective actions taken by these companies or not? What is the proof with respect to it? Now you're asking the question as to, is there any causal relationship between the kind of growth that we have seen? And now you'll be able to notice sustainability, as well as in terms of the profitability, as well as in terms of the disclosures which are there, might be not positively related, they might be negatively related. So what is the fine ground that you can force the companies to ensure that they will be able to follow in terms of sustainable methods? Which means you will be able to notice this gives us an impetus to follow research and then say, should I be able to look at the research taking these two aspects, or taking these two aspects and then proceed further? So now you'll be able to notice the recent studies which are there, which I'll now start talking about, is when we mainly start talking about in terms of the research which is there. They started saying that as innovation started happening, you will be able to notice the kind of growth that we see in terms of the emissions or the volatility in the emissions was very, very high with each wave that we have seen, and we are in the fifth wave. So if this is the case, they started saying that if a wave is created from wherein we start talking about clean tech, we start talking about biotech, and if sustainable finance is given more impetus, sustainability is given more impetus, this volatility might reduce and we might find ourselves, our planet to be much, much safer. So if this is the case, you will be able to notice that now initially sustainable finance was in the area of finance. Okay, we were talking about in the area of finance. Slowly we started looking at from a regulatory point of view, so that means it started moving towards the area of economics. Then we started saying that no, there are lot of investors who are putting the money. What if they are able to put the money in a very corrective way? If they are able to take all the steps, force the company that if you want the money from me, from a debt instrument or a equity instrument, you have to be able to follow these rules and regulations. That means it went towards what? It went towards micro behavioral finance. It went through mainly in terms of the area of marketing. You will be able to notice that slowly we are now moving towards a broader manner, and then saying, is it possible that I can come up with some theories and then state that there is no specific answer to it? So let me look at a different perspective and then say that every wave that I have seen, is this wave related to this, and what were the corrective actions which were taken, whether voluntary disclosures were made during this period or not. So if this is the case, you will be able to notice that I start looking at all these things from the phases and then say at every phase what was the kind of disclosures that I have seen. Now you'll be able to notice this itself becomes more or less an another research paper. So due to that reason, when we start looking at uh, our topic, because today's topic was what? Today's topic was just to make sure that if I have to be able to come up with the research, how should I be able to convey this research to the journal? Okay, but you will be able to notice the journal part always comes towards the end. First and foremost, what one has to be able to look at is what is that area which is gray, what is that area which has got a lot of heterogeneity, what is that area where I can publish not with just one angle. So I cannot just take one specific angle that every research has looked at and then start moving in the same direction. No journals will be able to accept our papers. So if this is the case, you will be able to notice that when I start looking at the sustainable finance and various aspects from the literature, and then start looking at when it comes to recent papers which have been published, one is what I'll do is I'll start looking at from a Harvard Business Review, which you will be able to notice that it gives all the aspects as a case study, right? But we'll start moving towards in terms of the research paper. We'll talk about the Emerald. We'll talk about in terms of specific journals which are there, which is ABDC or in terms of Shimago. And then we'll say, what is different when we start looking at this topic on sustainable finance and then start moving forward. So you will be able to notice that when I start looking at sustainable finance and looking at this research, and this is available if you Google search, you will be able to notice that this research paper talks about, if everyone has talked about in terms of the sustainable or sustainable finance which is there, and if someone is talking about in terms of the investments which is done, which is shown in the annual report that they are spending a lot of money on it. So I have got two aspects. One is I'm looking at one aspect is nothing but in terms of the profit. And another aspect which I'm looking at is in terms of a sustainability. Okay, so if this is the case, this research paper mainly talks about this aspect wherein it says that when we are talking about the companies which are going for sustainable or ESG investing, not only in India but throughout the world, you will be able to notice the investment decisions which are there are mainly concentrated on what is called as profit, but very less steps have been actually taken in order to move towards what is referred to as a sustainable finance. So what really it helps is, it helps us to do more research on this aspect and start looking at, is there whatever is the disclosure which has been done, is it matching with that of the profit. So you will be able to notice that we have got two aspects: shareholder wealth maximization. On the other hand, I'm talking about in terms of the planet. So if this is the case, how long can we go with this meaning of profit? Can we go for another 2 years, 50 years, 100 years? So there has to be some steps which has to be taken in the current period so that these corrective actions can be taken at a very, very shorter period of time. So you will be able to notice when I talk about now specific titles, you will be able to notice this title talks about ESG investing, and it talks about the other opinion that they have. That means I'm talking about planet, I'm talking about the profitability. These two aspects which is there is involved in the title, and this conveys a lot of meaning as to what will be the research all about in the future. So which means if I start looking at the research paper in depth, you will be able to notice that they mainly talk about in terms of what are the various structures which is available, what is the incentive plan for the companies that exist. If they have 100 rupees, if they spend 2 rupees, okay, is this common across all the companies, or some company is not even spending anything? Some company is just spending 50 paise, another company is spending 2 rupees or 15 rupees. So if that is the case, what is the benefit a company has which is spending more, and what is the benefit? So is there a comparability? So now you'll be able to notice that this research mainly talks about it, which means my abstract in the beginning and my title in the beginning should be clearly able to convey what is new about the research, and you should be able to convey how is my research different from that of other research papers which is available. This is one research paper. If you start looking at from a other perspective, you'll be able to notice they talk about in terms of more impactful strategy for sustainable investing, which means this topic and this topic is almost the same, but what they start looking at is, they start looking at people, companies are not following any norms, though in terms of there has been a lot of impetus, and you will be able to notice 2023 is called as the golden year, is for the reason that there has been strict enforcement in Europe, strict enforcement in US in order to follow clear-cut disclosure norms when it comes to sustainability. So you will be able to notice that this research is slightly different from the previous one, wherein they will be able to say that I would like to come up with a theory of my own and then start looking at from a point of view of sustainable investment. So, which means that is there any forcible way in which I can say whoever are the people who will be able to invest in the companies, either it is through the debt route, green finance, if it is in terms of, you'll be able to notice if I'm talking about the stock markets through mutual funds, portfolio houses, hedge funds, how can I ensure that these people can force the companies in order to go for it? So what they will be able to do is, you will be able to notice they come up with in terms of a theoretical model wherein they are able to state that there might exist different ways. That means all the research which has been done, which we discussed about, you'll be able to notice they put that into two phases. One is you are forcing the investors to, or investors are forcing the companies in order to take some steps. This is always referred to as a exit strategy. or either you are pushing the shareholders to force the company's board of directors to ensure that all the company employees who are there are going with the vision that they will be able to follow sustainable means in the future, which means you will be able to notice either you have one extreme point, and the other extreme point is in terms of the portfolio screening, which they say that this is one theory that it will be able to help us reach in terms of sustainable investing in a much more better manner. So you will be able to notice that if we start talking about various tools as well as in terms of the techniques which is there, that means I came up with this research paper and I am concentrating on coming up with in terms of a theory. If I'm coming up with in terms of a theory, what all the key aspects that I have to be able to highlight in my research paper so that this research paper gets selected very early. Okay, they don't take like 2 years in order to publish your research paper, but the research paper can be published very quickly. So if this is the case, you will be able to notice that one aspect is you are trying to look at the title of a research, not casually, but you are taking utmost care to ensure that your title is able to reflect upon what all aspects that you have tried to cover in your research paper. So similarly, you will be able to notice this is the same aspect, but you will be able to notice that they are now contradicting what were the previous research which was done, wherein they are able to say that if someone is going and investing, definitely we have seen a lot of improvements with respect to the society, with respect to the ecosystem around which the company is built. It is possible that whichever are the, in terms of the stakeholders who are there around this company, you will be able to notice the sustainable investment is definitely helping all these stakeholders. So you'll be able to notice you get a different perspective. If you are able to get a different perspective, that is where the journals will be really interested in. Now, you'll be able to notice when it comes to HBR, most of the time when we start looking at in terms of the topics, since we are all researchers, we concentrate so much on the research part, right? We go from the steps which is followed. If I'm going for Cooper and Schlender, so you will be able to notice that I'm taking in terms of a going for a literature review, then come up with the problem statement, objectives, hypothesis, have a research design, then I will be able to go for analysis, interpretations. You'll be able to notice we always follow in terms of a structure. But what I'm saying is before I can decide upon this structure, I should be very clear that this topic which I have taken, is it clearly going to be different from what has been done in the past? And I should not be taking a meaning which was there in 2011 and start doing research upon. I should be able to connect the dots as to how improvement happened from 2011 onwards up till 2022. And then say in 2023, if I have to be able to do the research, I have to be able to look at the chain of research which had been done, and then only I have to be able to move forward. So if this is the case, now I will be very specific. You will be able to notice that how things have started changing in 2023. You will be able to notice that we knew that people were talking about in terms of sustainable finance. I have gone through in terms of the literature review. That means I have done the analysis of the literature over the past 10 years or 12 years. And then I'm looking at the past research, present research, and I'm looking at the future theories which are there. But now, how is my research completely different from that of the previous one is, you'll be able to notice, I will start bringing in latest things. That means I'll start bringing in, for example, big data analytics. I'll start bringing in something called as machine learning, which means that I will start concentrating on this topic, but the insights that I will be able to derive publishing my paper is through a different means, which means you'll be able to notice that before I come up with the title of the research, if you start looking at the abstract which is given, and I have highlighted very key aspect, is I'm trying to say how is my research already concentrated upon? Then you are able to say, what did you do in order to aim for this study? So you'll be able to notice it engages in. And then you'll be able to notice that once you have done this research, what insights did you get? So that means your findings as well as in terms of the major conclusions which are there, it will be able to highlight. And then what is your scope for future research? Now you have done this research. Now for other researchers, what you would like to say? And then you will be able to notice that there are various methods which have been there. Is it possible for the rest of the scholars to use these methods and then move forward? Which means for me to be able to come up with this research topic, and you will be able to notice it talks about what it talks about in terms of the doing a thorough literature review. You are getting in terms of insights on sustainable finance, but you are trying to do this taking into consideration big data analytics as well as machine learning. And your abstract, which is there, talks about it very, very clearly. Now, why I am talking about this aspect is for the reason that over the past 3 years or 4 years, the research papers that I have written, you will be able to notice it is always collaborative research. Couple of research papers which I wrote were with professors who are there in US. Now, whenever you start writing research, you will be able to notice they never ever touch upon your complete research. The first and foremost that they will do is they ensure that whatever abstract that you have written clearly conveys the meaning in your research paper. Okay, so I might have done 20 pages of research paper. Okay, but when I write the abstract, all these 20 pages should be clearly defined, should be clearly observed in my abstract. If the meaning is different here and the meaning is different in the entire research paper, you will be able to notice it will be rejected right away in the first stage itself. So whenever it comes to editorial sections, you will be able to notice the editor will not look at your entire paper. He or she will be able to first look at in terms of a abstract. You will be able to notice, look at in terms of the title, and then they will be able to say that does this actually makes sense looking at the kind of growth, looking at the kind of studies that we have looked at in the past 10 years or in terms of 20 years. Let's have a look at in terms of another research paper. You'll be able to notice that what we discussed about is the previous research talks about in terms of taking all the literature, taking all the theories which is there, and then trying to use a different model and approaching the study from this perspective. But if you start looking at a different research paper, you will be able to notice we are talking about in terms of sustainable financial systems towards sustainability in finance. So that means what are the pre-existing financial systems that exist? If that is the case, I have to be able to look at it one from a macro perspective and one from within perspective. You will be able to notice that I am looking at both these perspectives, outer as well as in terms of inner, and trying to approach sustainability from both these aspects, which means that when I come up with in terms of a title, you will be able to notice the abstract clearly states what is it that I am trying to come up with, and you will be able to notice that they always talk about risk from the point of view of national, international, as well as global scales. They clearly state that what is the aim of this research all about, and then they are able to say what is the conclusions they were able to draw from the research. That means your abstract which is there should be able to clearly state these things. And many a times we always observe that people have done lot of data collection, right? They have taken like 20 years data. They have taken several countries data, and then they have tried to facilitate doing this research all about. Now you'll be able to notice sometimes you will be able to understand that I need not require that information to be said here in the abstract. So if this is the case, all I'm trying to look at is what was my goal, what was the analysis which was done, if this analysis or a research design which was used, how this research design is capable of explaining this topic. So if this is the case, you will be able to notice clearly an abstract should be able to have what was the research, how did we deal with this research, how did we proceed with this research, and if someone wants to do this research in the future, what is the scope for future research that we are able to have. So you will be able to notice it mainly talks about this aspect. Similarly, if we come for the next research paper, you will be able to notice the topic is very, very simple. Sustainable finance. You are looking at the concepts, you are looking at analysis as well as in terms of the perspectives, which means they are clearly stating that there has been lot of heterogeneity that exists. So if there exists in terms of heterogeneity, is it possible for me to be able to divide them? Is it possible for me to be able to segregate them into various pools and then ask future research scholars to take this topic separately, this topic separately, this topic separately, which means that you will now be able to understand that when one is talking about in terms of a title, the title need not concentrate upon how much data you used for the study. The title need not concentrate upon whether I did for Indian stock market, whether it did for any other country, because I will come to know about all these aspects here. So if this is the case, what I'm mainly concentrating upon is I have a theme, I have a topic which is currently very, very new. This is the topic that everyone is talking about, concentrating upon. If that is the case, how should I be able to deal with this topic? So you will be able to notice the first research talks about in terms of data, how differently you are able to use a methodology. Second topic which is there talks about the theory. The third research paper, you will be able to notice it talks about the framework which is given. And similarly, you will be able to notice that now, since we are almost out of time, you'll be able to notice once I have decided upon what is my topic going to be, what is the abstract going to be, and is this sufficient for one to be able to judge. Now what we do is we start looking at in terms of the research journals. Now many a times I have heard that first you select in terms of a research journal, uh, have a look at all the papers which have been done, then you start looking at it. Now what really happens is if a topic which is there is of no interest to you, the topic is good, the journal is good, but you don't have the data which is available. Now you will be able to notice, when you start with the journal, you will be able to notice you start becoming confused, is for the reason that over a period of 10 years or 12 years, they have published a lot of research papers in this journal, which is very, very varied. And when I start looking at this journal right in the beginning, I will start feeling they have covered everything. There is no need for me to be able to write any research on it. But you will be able to notice, if you go by an other method wherein you start looking at a specific topic and then you start researching about it, have a look at in terms of, though it will take some time, you will be able to notice you are very, very clear as to where your concentration has to be. And now you will be able to notice, I did all the research, I have a paper which is a very good paper. Now I have to be able to decide upon where is the appropriate journal where I can go and publish it. So if this is the case, you will be able to notice, if I'm taking a research about why I've taken this is, since we are talking about sustainable finance. So since I'm talking about sustainable finance, my research which has been done connects or directly relates with sustainable finance, and I have done all the research which is completely specific or in terms of unique, then I will start looking at this aspect. Now you'll be able to notice, I'll go for another journal which is called as Global Finance Journal, and then I will start looking at in terms of, is it possible for me to be able to publish it, and then I will start looking at what are the that this journal is has published over the years, and what are the recent articles which are there. Similarly, you will be able to notice that I am slightly moving away from Whatever we talked about in terms of macroeconomics point of view, we talk about from a finance point of view, behavioral finance point of view. I'm moving away from it and I'm moving towards in terms of the planet. Okay, I'm talking about in terms of a climate. I'm talking about sustainable finance has a direct relationship with respect to that of the planet itself. So if this is the case, you will be able to notice that now you will start looking at the research and then saying that they are ready to take some topics which is into climate financing. They are looking at in terms of green finance. They are looking at green financial system. They are looking at in terms of the modeling, which means whatever research that I have done might fall into any one of these criteria, and then it is possible for me to be able to publish it. Similarly, you will be able to notice when I go for Springer, for example, I have got financial innovation. Now, you might feel at this point of time that no, when it comes to in terms of financial innovation, which is there, has nothing to do with in terms of the topic that I have actually taken. But you will be able to notice, since more or less you will be able to notice that you are concentrating on the area that this journal mainly concentrates upon, you will be able to notice that there is ample scope for my research paper to be published in any one of these journals, is for the very reason that it mainly concentrates upon the sustainable or sustainability. It talks about finance. It talks about various aspects of sustainability that we had discussed upon. So you will be able to notice that when we are taking mainly with respect to the title, these are some of the critical aspects. These are some of the critical questions that one should be able to ask, and then only you have to be able to proceed further. So I think so. This is what I wanted to. There are a lot of aspects that I wanted to cover also, but I think so due to shortage of time. Okay, we will be able to take more questions. If you have any questions or any discussions, can be open at this stage, because what I wanted also is I did not wanted to take into consideration several domains of management, several areas, okay, and then move forward, because some aspects which will be there might be interesting, some aspects which are there might be kind of different. So you will be able to notice, that's why I have wanted to take one topic which is more clearer to understand to all of you, and then we will be able to understand in terms of the process. So when you go through in terms of the other days of FTP now, you'll be able to notice when one talks about methodology, when one talks about in terms of the research design models, everything else, you will be able to notice that overall all of them come together in order for perfect research paper. So everything boils down to this aspect, which has to be always taken into consideration. So I think so. This part is what I wanted to mainly cover, and I hope I have touched upon every aspect of it. So when we mainly talk about in the form of coming to a title, there exists a lot of hard work as well as in terms of a research, is for the reason that we are trying to come up with something which is quite different, and then only we are proceeding further. I do not want to first decide upon what is my data, and then I will start collecting the data. I will start, at the end I will decide what is my title. So I don't want to go about in that way. You always feel that your literature review which is there has to be very, very strong for you to be able to proceed further and then say that this is where the actual research lies. These are the various areas, and then I will start looking at what sort of data is available. Should I be able to go with the primary data, whether I should be able to go with the secondary data? It comes later, but you will be able to notice when you start doing the literature review and start looking at in depth, you will be able to notice that I don't have one specific topic now. I've got 10 or 12 different topics that I can discuss upon. taking these 12 topics, now I will start saying what kind of research can be done. And most of you believe it, that it is not only that you have to collect plenty of data with respect to the companies and then proceed further. If you are able to put forth your ideas, if your theories based upon the research that you have done, collate it and write that only as a research paper, it can be published in various research journals. So this is what I wanted to talk about today, and I would like to conclude at this point of time. So thank you all very much for listening, and if you do have any questions, please feel free at this point of time.
Thank you, sir. Dear participants, now the question answer session will begin. If you have any questions, please unmute yourself and ask. Dear participants, no, if you have any questions, please ask.
Hello.
Otherwise, we'll conclude the program.
Hello.
Yeah, please
Yes,
go ahead.
Namaste, sir. My name is Arvind. I'm a Hindi lecturer. I want to know, in Hindi, is there any online journals which I can go through and know about the topics which have not been taken as research topic?
Okay. I have no idea regarding it, specifically in the area of in Hindi. I have no idea regarding it, but specifically what I this is the question which always comes is, how should I be able to arrive at a specific topic? How should I be able to go with? So in a broader term, what I would suggest is there has to be one specific area that you should be able to jot down. It might be a very broader area. So it can be, for example, I'm talking about investment. I'm talking mainly from behavioral finance perspective. I'm talking about marketing. Then you have to be able to jot down to very, very specific, and then you have to be able to proceed further.
Okay, sir. Is there any online journals for languages?
Because we are talking about in terms of Hindi, so I don't know.
No,
Clearly,
sir,
I don't know.
not about Hindi. Any other language journals?
Yeah, a lot of if you will be able to notice that if I'm talking about in terms of the journal list which is there, we would definitely have like EBSCO database which is there. Okay, so you will be able to notice Science Direct databases are there, and the best part, if I want to start with, my college doesn't have any databases. ResearchGate is there. You have got SSRN, you have got Shodh Ganga, your Google Scholar is there. So first and foremost, in order to start with research, you'll be able to notice what you go and type in Google is, I'll write it as sustainable finance, and then I will be able to state it as, yeah, I have various venues, ResearchGate, I'll go to Emerald, I will write it as Science Direct. And if you want to be able to look at in terms of a research papers, you have got the DOI of the research papers. So if that is the case, using those DOIs, it is easier for you to go and track where is that research paper and get in terms of the entire abstract as well as the entire paper. Yeah, I think so. You can go ahead with that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Arvind, sir. Any other participants have any doubts?
Sir, good evening, sir. It is Shavaniya from Vidyavartaka College.
Yeah, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Sir, my question is,
yes, sir.
In some of my for my topic, I was going through literature review. They said that we should not use API keys for collecting the data.
Yeah.
But I have taken the topic that how YouTuber, influencer influence the bias. That is the behavioral bias. Now, is it right to take the API keys to collect the YouTube channels?
Sir, at this point of time, what I would like to say is, specifically when we talk about mainly in terms of research, right? When we are talking in terms of the research, ultimately you will be able to notice that something which is strategically or something which is approved within the avenue of academics has to be the first key for us to be able to move forward. And when we are talking about in terms of API keys, when we are talking mainly in terms of YouTubes, when we are talking about in terms of blogs, everything else, the problem that is there is you will be able to notice every views as well as the opinions keep on changing, right? So that means whatever had collected the information from a blog, for example, the article was fantastic. I had taken the information, but we always write in the literature or in the references that it was retrieved on so and so date. So which means that this opinion which was there, but this opinion has certainly changed over a period of time, which means that I do not want to start my research directly with the API keys is for this reason that might not become a valid point for me to be able to proceed further and then say, look, this is my research gap and I have taken this research gap by considering into these aspects. So if this is the case, what we always try to do is we look into some research journals, we look into some research papers which are very, very specific. Though they are very, very broader in way, they will be able to give us a point of view as to how to move forward. And then these bibliography can be considered probably towards the end.
Okay, sir.
Hope
Sir,
I have answered, sir. Yeah.
Sir, yeah, got it, sir. Can I proceed, or do you want me to look into for some more some more literature?
I think so. I think so. You have to be able to go for some more research, sir, and probably going by the route of journals or in terms of the references, which is more acceptable. That if you are able to, I think so that will give a very strong foundation for you to be able to proceed further, and might be at that stage, no one will be able to ask you a lot of questions, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Hello,
sir.
sir. Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
I'm Mujib Khan from Government Project College, Kanakpura, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, if we do any research work by taking one big city, as a study, what is called as a study area. So, what should be the minimum standard sample size that we can consider, whether it is 1,000, 500, or 250 like that, sir? Is there any standard acceptable number of respondents to be selected for collecting primary, secondary, or any other type of data, sir?
Yeah. So the question that is asked is the one that is asked very, very frequently by all the research scholars, sir. So the answer to it is you will be able to notice this is no straightforward answer that I will be able to say, is for the reason that when we go for research design, now you'll be able to notice that though I have taken in terms of the city, my study might be concentrated on a cluster or it can be a strata. Now, should I be able to collect this data? Now, for this, let me put it in a very simpler manner. If I am taking in terms of a city, you will be able to notice when I talk about a city, it is a very heterogeneous group that I have got. Each might be very heterogeneous in nature. So due to that reason, you will be able to notice that I cannot go and decide upon a specific sample size just randomly, but it all depends upon my topic or my specific area, and then say that what is my topic actually talking about? Is there any necessity to be able to take using this term is for the reason that is it when I go for in terms of a convenient sampling method or a non-random sampling method, you will be able to notice a lot of questions will be asked later on. But when I'm using in terms of a random sampling method, or if I'm using various strategies which come within that, you will be able to notice the question is not on the sample size, because if the population is known, we have in terms of various sample size calculators, sample size determination methods, wherein we are able to decide upon the proportions, everything else, which I think so will be discussed in the FTPs or the next day or day after that. But at this point of time, what we mainly concentrate upon is if I'm taking in terms of the entire area, is stratified data or in terms of a clustered data is more relevant for me to be able to go ahead and collect in terms of the size. And since you are talking about in terms of a city, within that city, I might be concentrating on only specific professionals. I might be talking about specific investors. Within that city, you will be able to notice they might be clustered around working professionals. It might be clustered around only students. Okay. So if this is the case, though I'm talking about in terms of a city, my sample size determination, which is there, the scope of the research will automatically boil down. So if I have got a finite population, if I have got in terms of the infinite population, there are various sample size calculators which are there, which will be able to help in terms of determining, sir. Definitely, yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mujib sir. Any other participants? Do you have any queries to ask?
Hello, sir. This is Anupama here. Just wanted to know, like, when we select a topic,
Yes,
a new topic, how will come to know that it's a new topic which I have selected? Nobody else have selected this my topic, whatever I am doing.
Yeah. So that's why what we often try to do is, for example, you will be able to notice that one specific area is of my interest. For example, the entire session that I did was on what is called a sustainable finance. At a beginning, I might feel that sustainable finance is a very new topic. It is a brilliant topic, and I feel that no one has actually done it. So what we try to actually start with is, if I have taken this topic, I will start looking at first the recent papers which have been written in this area. And then if I start going through in terms of the list of references across in terms of the various cross sections which are there, I will be able to realize that more or less this topic which is there has been dealt. But what was the scope of things that was, or what was the gamut in which this topic was discussed? So what I want you all to be able to understand is, I might have taken a specific topic. I definitely feel that this is very, very good topic. This might be a topic which no one has actually taken. But when I start looking at in terms of the research, you will be able to notice the thread of the topic might exist across various research papers. And that's why what we do is, for me to be able to come up with a topic and literature review which has been done in something like 2009 or 2003, and then say that there has not been any research which has been conducted. But if you look at those research papers and then look at their references which is there, you will be able to notice that in order for them to be able to come up with that research, they might have taken the help of various research papers, which means that sufficient research has already been gone through. So what we tend to do is, we will be able to support that this topic is relatively new only through in terms of a thorough literature review. And then only we will be able to proceed further. So you will be able to notice that the topic might be old, but the context in which it is used might be different. And this is what we observe lot of research studies which have been done. But if I'm able to look at collating all these research papers together and then state that enough research has been done, enough theories have been discussed, but I would like to look at this from a specific perspective, that becomes your research gap, madam. Yeah. Hope I have
Thank you,
answered
sir.
it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Anupama ma'am. Any other participants?
Hello, sir. This is
Yes,
Hema from
ma'am.
Rural College. I have one little doubt.
Yes,
Just now, you answered one questions regarding review of literature. So in
yeah,
connection to that only, have little idea. Means sorry, doubt. Which is
Yes,
the
ma'am.
best source for
Yeah.
final research? Either thesis or journal articles, sir?
I would always say journals, ma'am. I would not go with in terms of the thesis. Is for the
Okay.
reason that whenever one comes up with the thesis, you will be able to notice that when you start looking at the thesis in depth, justification always comes into mind, right? So they start
Yeah.
justifying that their research paper is very new, the topic is very new. They start their approach from that manner. But when you talk about in terms of the research papers, you will be able to notice that they are peer reviewed. They are reviewed by a lot of good minds throughout the world, which means that it has gone through a lot of scrutiny before it was published. And since it is a unique research paper, it has been published. So what I would suggest is, I would not go with in terms of the thesis, because thesis, what happens is, they would have done a lot of research over the years, collected all the information, compiled everything else, but I do not want to get their point of view in depth. Okay, so I want a diversified view. That diversified view in a very shorter period of time, I will be able to get through research journals. And I'm very confident that since it has been published, these views which are there are ones that I can take forward, okay, and then move on. So I would suggest always research papers and research journals. Yeah.
How many papers we want to review, sir, for getting final gap minimum?
Ma'am, it is. I think so. The question which is there is, it all specifically depends upon. As of now, whenever I do in terms of the research paper, it will not be less than like 25 to 30 research papers to start with. Is for the reason that I want to be able to get a comprehensive view on the topic. And the comprehensive view means that I will not take the research papers which are spread across only in 2023. I'll take from 2011 onwards up till 2023, and then see how it is dealt across over the years. So the answer would be more the research papers, because what happens is, now you'll be able to notice, ma'am, that most of the research papers do not have a separate chapter called as literature review. Now, what we do in the introduction, and before you come with the problem statement, that means your research journal, if you start looking at the introduction, literature review, problem statement, objectives, hypothesis, you will be able to notice everything is culminated in one chapter itself. That means whenever I write a line, whenever I write few sentences, I have to be able to relate those sentences with the research paper that I have taken, which means when I start with the introduction, I will always start in a very simpler manner. But every sentences that I have actually dealt with, I will start looking at this sentence is supported by which of the journals that I have referred to. I will quote them, and then I will be able to proceed further, which means my introduction has the capability of combining together all the 4 or 5 chapters which we always write as part of like research thesis. So research paper, when we write, you will be able to notice we try to condense this as much as possible, so that whoever are the viewers or in terms of the editors are able to get a grasp of what I am trying to say in a very shorter period of time. So due to that reason, what we try to do is, we try to ensure that we take into consideration lot of research papers. Why we take lot of research papers is, if I take 26 research papers or if I take 50 research papers, you will be able to notice I can cluster these research papers into 5 groups or 6 groups maximum, and then say that these 5 papers out of 50 talked about only one area or one topic. I will start discussing about it and then go forward. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So, any more questions?
Okay.
Okay.
I think no more questions, sir. Shall we conclude, sir?
Yeah, yes, yes. Sir.
So be grateful for what you have and where you are in the journey. Gratitude is the key to manifest the abundance. I feel elated to express my gratitude on this day of FDP. On behalf of Department of Commerce, Bangalore University, and BUTCCM, I express my profound and most sincere gratitude to all for honoring our invitation with your presence. I express my profound gratitude to our resource person, Dr. Deepak, who, despite his numerous schedule, has found to share his rich experience and expertise with us. Your insightful session was truly enriching. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Now I invite Professor Prabhakar, Treasurer, BUTCCM, to propose a vote of thanks.
Yeah, thank you. It's audible.
Yes, sir.